Hey, Jason Starr here, and the topic of today's video is, do you need a publisher? And the simple answer to this question is yes and no. It depends on what stage you are in your career, what you're trying to achieve with the book. For example, some of you may be first-time writers. You're just finishing up your first book and you're trying to decide whether you should start looking for an agent, go the traditional publishing route. Some of you may be veteran writers who have written a few novels or many novels and are thinking of trying to self-publish a novel now, trying to leverage an existing fan base. And so you're kind of trying to decide whether to go traditional or self-publishing. In my case, I've published over 20 novels to date, and I've always initially had a traditional publisher. Recently, I've been able to have some of my backlist revert to me, and I've put out editions of some of my own novels. For example, you could find Lights Out, Panic Attack, Twisted City on Amazon, BN, other online retailers, and they're also available in print edition, so definitely check them out. So I've had some experience both ways now, and in my opinion, at least initially, there are significant advantages to having a traditional publisher, especially if it's your first novel and you haven't even explored yet trying to get an agent and finding out what the market is for your book. I feel it'd be silly not to at least explore what the possibilities are. If you feel you have a book that would do particularly well online, for example, romance novels, erotica do extremely well online, self-published. You might want to go that route, but in most cases, I would say at least explore traditional publishing. And I feel there are four major advantages to having a traditional publisher. And the first one is probably the most obvious, but it's distribution. If you decide to self-publish, you're going to be doing most of the marketing yourself, if not all of the marketing, and you're going to have to use social media, your own, you might have a blog or YouTube channel or some way of reaching out to people, but you're going to be doing most of this on your own. And it's going to be very difficult to get books, physical books, into bookstores. Traditional publishers have sales forces. Some of the bigger publishers like Random House, Penguin, etc., have huge marketing forces and sales forces who go out and direct sell these books to chains and independent stores. So it's going to be very difficult to get that sort of word of mouth going and distribution for a physical book. So most of your books will be ebook sales. But it's also going to be difficult to get foreign rights sold to your book. I've had foreign rights sold in about 10 to 12 countries at this point, and most of those sales, I mean, there's occasionally some of these sales are made at big book fairs like the London Book Fair, but in many cases, it's because a foreign publisher finds out about your book through a review in Publishers Weekly or the Library Journal, or they hear about some advance buzz. And it's going to be much harder to get that advanced buzz that leads to foreign sales if you're self-publishing. Which leads me to another reason why you would need a traditional publisher, which would be publicity. Because in the best case scenario, a traditional publisher has a much better chance of getting your book reviewed in Publishers Weekly or bigger publications, Entertainment Weekly, the New York Times. I mean, you'll probably have very little chance of getting into those publications without a traditional publisher. Now, this doesn't mean that, obviously, that every book with a traditional publisher gets that sort of attention. That's a topic for another video, but really, like, only the top people at traditional publishers are the ones who get that sort of attention, where they're going to get the major media coverage. And it also depends what type of book you're writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, whether it has some sort of commercial hook for the media. But again, that's another topic. But that is a reason to go with a traditional publisher in general, assuming the best case scenario that your book is going to be the type of book that's going to get attention. You have a much better chance of getting that attention with a physical publisher than doing it on your own. You're going to be spending a lot of time marketing and trying to get publications to review you. But film rights, similar to foreign rights, is another major reason to have a traditional publisher. I've had many of my books optioned, and several are in development right now for film and TV. And usually in those cases, it's because either an agent was able to initiate a deal, or someone, again, similar to foreign rights, heard about the book through a review in Publishers Weekly or another publication, or there was just some buzz about it. And it's going to be much harder to get that buzz if you self-publish. But there's also a legitimacy to the book if you publish with, especially if you publish with a major publisher, but really any respected publisher is going to get a lot more buzz for your and respect for a book in Hollywood than you would if you self-publish. I think people are going to be a little more, producers are going to be a little more skeptical about a self-published book. Now, of course, there are major exceptions to this. Obviously, 50 Shades of Grey, for example, is a great example of a book that was initially self-published that overcame those obstacles. But those examples are few and far between. So if you're a first-time publisher, a first-time author, and you're just trying to figure out which way to go, I'd highly recommend at least exploring the process of finding an agent. And I'm going to do a whole video on looking for agents also. But I would at least explore that possibility. And if you're a veteran writer and you're looking to break into self-publishing, I think it's definitely viable to do it. I'm already seeing bigger sales with some of my backlist titles than I ever had with traditional publishers doing it on my own. But I think you have to make the decision whether you can leverage your fan base in that way and market the book yourself. So hope this video was helpful. Like it. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out some of my books online, like Lights Out, Panic Attack, and check back more for my next video. Bye.